Part 3. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 21. Chapter 21, Multipurpose. At this time, in the main hall, the sect master and the other peak masters of the 6 peaks were sitting in front of the screen and looking at the young girls refining alchemy outside the main hall. The master of Xianxia Peak was a little disappointed when he saw that Xianxia actually took out the herb for the primary blood coagulation pill. When she knew Baiko just now, I thought she just had low cultivation and was a genius in the field of elixirs. She could only refine elementary blood coagulation pills. It's a pity. I was a little jealous of her familiarity with Baiko. After hearing what the master of Xianxia Peak said, the master of Tianshui Peak, Miao Yu, asked, "Are you making things difficult for her?" The master of Xianxia Peak said with some embarrassment, "On a whim, I took 9 rare medicinal herbs to test her, and she answered them all without thinking. She is not particularly familiar with them, so she would never be able to do this." "That's such a pity." Miao Yu, the master of Tianshui Peak, looked at the screen on the screen where Yu Xianluo calmly started refining elixirs under the ridicule of everyone. Yesterday, her nephew sent her a message, saying that he had fallen in love with the girl in the red dress and asked her to find a way to get her to Tianshui Peak. Originally, she thought that if she had talent, she could fulfill his nephew's wish. However, it now seems that her alchemy talent is too low, and even her familiarity with herbs cannot make up for this shortcoming. After all, the alchemist ultimately speaks for himself with the elixirs he concocts. However, she is just a young girl. With her knowledge of herbs, as long as the basic elixirs are not bad, it is okay to do her a favor and make her an outer disciple. When the time comes, the nephew will not be able to get a little girl with this favor. "Look, she is actually using her fire power to make elixirs," the master of Tianhong Peak suddenly said. They hadn't noticed it before, but when the master of Tianhong Peak said it, they all looked over. There was no flint under the alchemy furnace of Ruan Xiangluo, only a small flame. At a glance, they knew it was not a strange fire, so there was only one possibility. She was a fire. He uses his spiritual roots to make elixirs with the flames condensed from his own fire power. The master of Tianshui Peak said in surprise, "Is she crazy? Not to mention that it is too distracting. How can her spiritual power at the 4th level of the UN level be enough to support her in refining alchemy?" The master of Xianxia Peak touched his chin and said in a leisurely tone, "If she succeeds, the quality of the elixir will not be low. Everyone knows that the fire power of her own flame is the easiest to control. If she can really refine it into a pill, the quality will definitely be high. However, no alchemist has chosen to make elixirs in this way. After all, spiritual power consumes too much, and it is not easy for anyone to practice, especially alchemists who spend a lot of time refining alchemy. Spiritual power is too precious to them." A few people were talking about it, but only the sect master and the master of Thousand Poison Peak didn't say a word. At this time, Yan Xiangluo is not only refining elixirs, but also trying to see if she can do 3 things at once. If a few people knew about it, they would definitely think that she is a pervert. At this time, Miao Nagano had already begun to purify, and the speed of refining the elixir was far ahead of everyone else. Yan Xiangluo's speed is not slow, but no one is paying attention to her elixir refining speed now, and she wants to try 3 things at once, so the speed is slower than last night's refining elixir. The assessment time was before noon, and there was enough time, so she was not in a hurry. Just when the herbs were refined, the golden flowers in the dantian floated, and the fragrance fell, and she was overjoyed. Is this it? She can finally practice and absorb spiritual energy when making elixirs, which means that she will no longer use flint to make elixirs, but can always use her own fire power to make elixirs with flames. She was in a good mood. After the spiritual energy was replenished, she made the elixir faster, but she did not speed up. Based on her experience in reading fantasy novels, the quality of the elixir has a lot to do with its purification. So without having to worry about running out of spiritual power, she slowed down and extended the time for the step of purifying the elixir. When many people started condensing elixirs, she was still purifying them. Miao Nagano was the first one to successfully condense the elixir. The strong fragrance of the elixir filled the air and everyone was envious. The richer the fragrance, the higher the quality of the elixir. Someone finished refining alchemy, and 7 people walked out of the hall, 6 men and 1 woman, wearing brocade robes of various colors, all embroidered with golden patterns, but the outer robes were all the same, wide and elegant, snow white, with the same totem on them. The identities of the 7 people are known to everyone, needless to say. All the more serious alchemists who have not yet completed the elixir, they are the masters of the Xuanhuan sect and the masters of the 6 peaks. If they perform well, they are likely to become their disciples, and that will be a step to the sky. Yan Xiangluo's position was originally at the back, and all his thoughts were on refining the elixir, so he didn't notice anyone coming out of the hall and concentrating on refining it. The leader of Xuanhuan sect laughed when he saw the elixirs suspended in Miao Changai's elixir furnace, another alchemy genius, 3rd grade Yuan elixir, top quality, 3 completed elixirs, not bad. The leader of Tianshui Peak, Miao Yu, was relieved. Her nephew was doing well, and her face was bright. She was originally worried about whether the sect leader would like Nagano, but judging from the sect leader's attitude, it was certain that she would become the sect leader's disciple. Sure enough, the sect leader looked at Miao Nagano and said, "Are you willing to become my 7th disciple?" Miao Nagano finally accomplished what he had not accomplished in his previous life. His brows and eyes were full of joy, and he immediately saluted and said, "Disciple Miao Nagano pays homage to master." The sect master helped him up and said with a smile, "Okay, I have another disciple in Xuanhuan Peak." Others were extremely envious and wanted to take the sect master as their teacher. They didn't even dare to think about it, but Miao Nagano did it easily. Shortly afterwards, another person became an elixir, one after another. The fragrance of various elixirs was mixed together, and it was not unpleasant to smell. Some of the elixirs even made me feel comfortable all over after smelling them. Jin Xinrong also refined the 1st grade elixir with the best results. It was of top grade quality and became a complete elixir. It was considered to be functioning normally. With less than 300 people, they all succeeded in condensing elixirs one after another. Except for Yan Xiangluo, who had not yet finished refining the elixir, no one else failed in refining the elixir. Only Miao Nagano has refined the 3rd grade elixir, and it is obvious that he stands out. Only 50 people can refine the 2nd grade elixir. The sect leader has already accepted Miao Nagano and has no plans to accept any more disciples. Except for the master of 1000 Poison Peak, the masters of other 5 peaks have refined 2nd grade elixirs and accepted disciples. Although they were all curious about the young master's uncle saying that he was destined to be an apprentice this time, they did not compete with him. Before accepting the apprentice, they only accepted him because he didn't like him. But there is only one left, and the master uncle has not received an apprentice yet. Is it possible that the young master uncle wants to take the little girl in the red dress with the lowest cultivation level and the worst talent as his disciple? There are only a few people who can refine the 2nd grade elixir. In addition, there are less than 100 people who can refine the 1st grade elixir. The quality of the elixir is top grade. Jin Xinrong estimated that she should be able to become an inner disciple. She was happy but also worried about Yu Xiangluo, who had not yet condensed the elixir. Why was she so slow in refining the primary elixir? If this continues, she will probably have to be a handyman disciple. End of this chapter. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 22. Chapter 22 The Only Disciple. So, The current situation is that nearly 300 assessment disciples, plus the inner disciples who originally came to do things, and the masters of the 7 peaks, are all looking at a person who is still refining alchemy. This person is Yanxiangluo. Yanxiangluo has blocked the perception of the outside world at this time and is focusing on refining the elixir. At this time, she has entered the step of condensing the elixir. Unknown to her, she became the focus of everyone's attention. The master of Qingzhou Peak frowned and whispered to the sect leader beside him, "This girl is only at the 4th level of the UN level. How can she sustain using the power of fire to refine elixirs for so long?" The sect leader shook his head, he didn't see anything. The main reason is that Yanxiangluo also uses spiritual power when refining elixirs. Therefore, no one can really tell that she is practicing while refining elixirs. The master of Tianshui Peak frowned. This girl has a face like a vixen. She is not very talented in alchemy. She has not yet finished refining an elementary elixir. She is the only one left in the audience. She is actually not embarrassed at all. No. Miao Nagano looked at her with dark eyes. He was very sure that such a thing did not happen in his last life, otherwise he would not have heard any news at all. The master of 1000 Poison Peaks frowned as he looked at her. This girl is indeed special. Unfortunately, her strength is too low. At this moment, the fragrance of Dangxiang came from the alchemy furnace of Yanxiangluo. Everyone was stunned. Why is the fragrance of Dangxiang so fragrant? It felt like the fragrance of the elixirs when so many of them were mixed together was not as fragrant as the fragrance of the elixirs coming from her alchemy furnace. At this moment, Yanxiangluo opened the lid of the alchemy furnace, and a round elixir as white as jade floated out. If you look closely, you can see that it actually has golden lines on it. Perfect quality elixir, my God, everyone was shocked. A person who could only refine elementary elixirs actually refined elixirs of perfect quality. Everyone's emotions were extremely complicated. Yangxiang breathed a sigh of relief, and then realized that there was a large group of people surrounding her. When she looked again, she found that she was the only one left. That's it? I was so involved in refining the alchemy that I forgot the time. It won't be over time, right? She touched her nose awkwardly and asked, "Did I time out?" Isn't she not surprised at all that she was able to refine a perfect quality elixir? She actually cared about whether she had exceeded the time limit. Just because she had refined a perfect quality elixir, she would not be kicked out even if she exceeded the time limit, let alone become. It is very likely that the handyman disciples will break the rules and become inner disciples. There were many envious people in the crowd. Only Jin Xinrong was extremely happy. As expected, her friend was unusual and actually refined a perfect quality elixir. The 7 peak masters walked up to her and looked at the suspended elixir. The master spoke, "It didn't take too long. Have you ever refined a perfect quality elixir before?" "No, first time." Yangxiang sighed in relief, as long as the time was not exceeded, and then realized that she had actually refined the perfect elixir. It turned out that the quality of the elixir could really be improved after the purification was done. Everyone became even more envious and jealous after hearing this. What kind of luck did she have to refine a perfect quality elixir at a critical moment? Tianshui Peak Master Miao Yu is in a bad mood. This girl seduced her nephew and stole his limelight. Originally, Nagano was the most outstanding disciple this year, but she actually refined a perfect quality elixir. Although it is only elementary, it is also of perfect quality. You must know that among these brothers and sisters, only the sect leader has ever refined elixirs of perfect quality. Is once not every time. The sect leader pondered, how should Yanxiangluo arrange it? Her cultivation level was too low, not to mention her level of alchemy. Even though she could refine elixirs of perfect quality, it did not mean that she would be able to refine them in the future, let alone her fellow apprentices. It's not suitable. it's a bit reluctant to stay in the inner sect as a disciple. Before the leader of Xuanhuan sect decided what to do, the cold-faced master of Qiandu Peak said to Ruan Xiangluo, "Girl, I am the master of Qiandu Peak. You are willing to be my disciple, my only disciple." Everyone was shocked. The leader of the Xuanhuan sect and the other 5 peak masters were also stunned. Junior Master Wanlei really wanted to accept her as his disciple. I am afraid he had already made the decision from the first day he saw her climbing the mountain, so I didn't come to see it yesterday, I just came today. Yan Xiangluo felt that she had been hit by a big pie. When she was chatting with Jin Xinrong yesterday, she had already learned about the situation of the 7 peaks of Xuanhuan section. She really liked Qiandu Peak and thought that if she could go to Qiandu Peak is fine. Although she was young in her previous life, her medical skills were not bad. She knew very well that if a person could learn poison well, his medical skills would definitely be the same. Only good medical skills and poison skills can be good. But I heard that the master of Qiandu Peak never accepts disciples, and he doesn't have any disciples. Except for the handyman disciples who go to work, Qiandu Peak doesn't have any direct disciples. Hence, she didn't even dare to think that she could go to 1,000 poison peaks at her own level, and even the inner disciples didn't dare to think about it. But now the master of Qiandu Peak asked her if she wanted to be his disciple, his only disciple, and she felt like she was floating. "Yes, I am willing," Yan Xiangluo said happily, fearing that it would be too late and the master of Qiandu Peak would change his mind. Seeing her respond so urgently, the master of 1,000 poison peaks had a slight smile in his eyes, making his cold expression soften a bit. "Why do you agree so readily? Most people are not willing to waste time learning drugs." "What a waste of time. Learning medicine and alchemy can save people, and learning poison can save yourself. If you want to be good at poisoning, you can only have better medical skills." Yuan Xiangluo expressed her thoughts. After hearing what she said, the master of 1,000 poison peaks knew that she was not just perfunctory with him, but that she really wanted to go to his 1,000 poison peaks. "Okay, it's not in vain to wait for me for so many years. I finally have a lovely young apprentice. Let's go. Master will take you to see Master Qin and formally become your apprentice." The master of Qiandu Peak pulled his young apprentice and was about to leave. "Master, wait a moment, I will put the alchemy furnace away," Yan Xiangluo said quickly. "This alchemy furnace of yours is too bad, I don't want it anymore." "Master will give you a good one," the master of Qiandu Peak said with disgust. Yan Xiangluo didn't want to do it. She bought this for 10 yuan of low-grade spiritual stones. It would be a pity to throw it away. She could just sell it if she doesn't use it. "Master, there are 10 low-grade spiritual stones, it would be a waste to throw them away." As he spoke, he put away the alchemy furnace. The perfect quality elixir was collected by the master of 1,000 poison peak. "Master of the elixir will keep it for you first, and will give it to you after showing it to your master." Yan Xiangluo was pulled up into the air by the master of Qiandu Peak. She quickly turned back to look for Jin Xinrong. When Jin Xinrong saw her looking over, she quickly waved to her, meaning "Don't worry about me." Yan Xiangluo also waved to her and shouted loudly, "Xinrong, wait for me to find you." Jin Xinrong was extremely moved. All her friends had become disciples of the Peak Master, and they were still thinking of her. She was determined to be her friend Yuan Xiangluo. Miao Nagano was in a very bad mood. He was supposed to be the one in the limelight today, but he was overtaken by a girl who was not as good as him. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 23. Chapter 23, Meeting the Master. Seeing that the most difficult person to deal with was taken in by his uncle, the sect leader breathed a sigh of relief and said to the other peak leaders, "Let's go, let's all take the disciples we have accepted to pay homage to their master." The sect master's mood is actually very complicated. He didn't know how to arrange the girl at first, but now she is fine and has become their little junior sister. Miao Chang could be as depressed as he wanted. Although he was also accepted as a disciple by the peak master, he was still accepted as a disciple by the master of a section. However, Yan Xiangluo was a generation older than him, and the peak master of Qiandu Peak was his master. Master's uncle, he will call him Master's uncle when he sees Wan Xiangluo from now on. Having experience in his previous life, he knew very well that the young master's temper and character were not as good as they are today. The master of Tianshui Peak tugged on his nephew's sleeve to remind him not to lose his composure. Miao Nagano immediately regained his composure and followed the sect leader respectfully to the mountain peak where the ancestors lived. However, although the masters they met all lived in the same place, they were not from the same generation as the masters that Yan Xiangluo met. Yan Xiangluo was almost carried by her newly recognized master as she flew over the palace and the peaks, and then landed on the innermost peak. This peak is not as gorgeous as other peaks, but its aura is particularly rich and very pure. Exquisite and not so large courtyards are scattered among the trees. The courtyard where the master of Qiandu Peak brought Yan Xiangluo was the highest one, and his status was obviously the highest in the Xianyuan sect. The master of Qiandu Peak pulled Yan Xiangluo open the courtyard door and walked inside. As he walked, he shouted, "Master, I brought my apprentice to see you. Youngest, you have actually accepted a disciple, bring me in quickly and show me what kind of child you have caught your eyes." A hearty voice came from inside, and you could tell by the sound that the person inside was in excellent health. Following the sound, Yan Xiangluo saw an old man with white hair and white beard wearing a black robe walking out of a room. He was not tainted with a trace of earthly aura, but with a fairy spirit. "Girl, I want to meet your master," the master of Qiandu Peak said to Ruan Xiangluo. The master had already mentioned something, and Yan Xiangluo immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed sincerely. Yan Xiangluo pays homage to the master. "Hey, she's a little girl, get up ancestorkin," he said lovingly. His temperament as a disciple is different from that of other disciples. He may look cold, but those who have penetrated his heart will know how warm his heart is and how protective he is of his shortcomings. After having no disciples for so many years, he did not force him, because he knew that he would not accept a disciple unless he was satisfied, and he would not teach him well if he was forced to accept one. Now that he has chosen his own disciple, he hurriedly brings him to see how satisfied he is. Yan Xiangluo got up from the ground and stood respectfully next to her master Qiandu Peak master, allowing ancestor Qin He to look at him. She is at the 4th level of the UN level and her cultivation level is a bit low. How about making alchemy? Ancestor Qin He looked at her and asked. Disciple son can only refine elementary elixirs, Yu Xiangluo said truthfully. Elementary elixir. Ancestor Qin He was stunned. This girl must be 12 or 13 years old. Not only her talent in cultivation is low, but her talent in alchemy is also so low. What does his disciple like about her? He must be interested in her good looks. This is choosing a disciple, not looking for a wife. Master, look at it, this is the primary elixir, blood coagulation pill, that the girl refined during today's assessment. The master of Qiandu Peak took out the elixir refined by Yan Xiangluo and handed it to Patriarch Qin He. What is there to see in a primary elixir? Although Ancestor Qin He thought so, the elixir still gave Yao two-face. He took the bottle and opened it and was stunned. A perfect quality elixir? Is it really like this? The girl made it? He has lived for a long time. He has refined perfect quality elixirs himself, and he has seen those refined by others, but this is the first time he has seen such a low-level perfect quality elixir. The main reason is that the level of alchemists who can refine perfect quality elixirs is already high, and the level of perfect quality elixirs refined will naturally not be low either. Yes, it was refined in front of everyone's eyes, the master of Qiandu Peak said proudly, as if he had refined the elixir. Yan Xiangluo is a little surprised. Although it is of perfect quality, the level of the elixir is too low. How long have you been making alchemy, girl, patriarch Qin he asked. Yu Xianglue was stunned and stretched out 4 fingers without confidence. Ancestor Qin he said, 4 years. Yan Xianglue shook her head quickly, and Qin he ancestor was stunned, 4 months, it seemed that she was not even 20 years old, nor could she be 40 years old. 4 days Yan Xianglue didn't dare to let the ancestor guess any more and quickly replied. Are you sure? This sentence was asked by Ancestor Qin he and the master of Qiandu Peak together. Not to mention Ancestor Qin he, even the master of Qiandu Peak was surprised and shocked. I'm sure, before I came to take the assessment, my disciple didn't know that he was going to be tested on alchemy. He had never refined an elixir before. He made the elixir for the first time the night before yesterday. His spiritual power was not enough to support the elixir condensation and he failed. The day before yesterday was the first day of the assessment and he was promoted. I have reached the first level, and I tried to make an elixir again last night, and it was successful, but it was not of perfect quality. Today is the 3rd time I have made an elixir, Yu Xianglue said matter-of-factly. Master and disciple looked at each other, both shocked. If this was really the case, she was a peerless alchemy genius. Where is the elixir you refined last night? Take it out and let us take a look, the master of Thousand Poison Peak said in a very gentle tone, for fear of poisoning his little apprentice. Yan Xianglue took out the elixir she refined last night. It was also a blood coagulating elixir. Although it was not of perfect quality, it was still a top-grade elixir. Ancestor Qin he woke up from the shock. Not only was he able to make alchemy successfully for the first time, but the quality of the alchemy was still so high. What kind of talent was this? Girl, are you willing to be my disciple? Yes, the person I admire most in Xuanhuan sect is my master. Yan Xianglue did not hide her joy at all. Oh, you're flattering me, Grand Master Qin he didn't believe it. He felt that this little girl was flattering his apprentice. Maybe she was worried that she wouldn't be able to enter the immortal cloud sect due to her own cultivation. Ruan Xianglue said generously, this is not just flattery. My master is famous for his poison skills in the mainland. As high as a person's poison skills are, his medical skills will be as high as he is. His alchemy skills will only be higher. I want to become a strong person like my master. After being reborn into this world and having a healthy body, Yan Xianglue understood clearly that she had to live according to her heart. If she wanted to live according to her heart, she must have the capital to live according to her heart. That is strong strength. Therefore, to become a strong person, this is her unwavering belief. How could his master Qin he not understand that Qiandu Peak was founded by his master back then, but since its creation, few people have learned from it. Xuanhuan sect will not accept those who are willing to learn but have evil intentions. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 24. Chapter 24, Giving the Ecstasy Bell. His disciple inherited 1,000 poison peaks. He learned it very well and carried forward the poison skills of Xuanhuan section. The first thing that comes to mind when mentioning poison skills in the entire continent is Qian Poison Peak of Xuanhuan section. He is also the number 1 person in poison skills in the mainland. It is none other than Yao Tu. But this also buried Yao Tu's talent for alchemy and medical skills. The world ignored his talent for alchemy because of his talent for refining poison. Today, this girl hit the nail on the head and explained Yao Tu's abilities so thoroughly. She wasn't just being perfunctory, she really liked 1,000 Poison Peak. This girl is very smart. My disciple has not waited in vain for so many years. Although the little girl seems to be unsatisfied, if this is based on the fact that she has only been refining alchemy for 4 days, then it is not unsatisfactory. This girl's alchemy talent will probably make her become the leader of the Immortal Cloud section first person. Master Qin he stroked his beard and smiled, girl, master will remember what you said today. Master, just remember that today the disciples rely on the Master's love, and they will definitely become the Master's pride in the future. Xianxia clenched her fists. She said these words from the bottom of her heart. Today, the Master has chosen her, and he will definitely protect her and teach her to learn medical skills, poison skills, and alchemy. The kindness of a teacher is greater than heaven. In the future, she will definitely use what she has learned to make her master not regret today's decision. The master of Thousand Poison Peaks was extremely proud. The master-disciple fate he sensed through Tianyun did not disappoint him. Little girl, he was so pleased. Master, when you meet your disciple for the first time, you should give him a greeting gift. The master of Kyandu Peak looked at his master's shameless face and directly asked for a greeting gift from his disciple. Master Qin, he rolled his eyes at his disciple, isn't it true that you haven't become a disciple yet? That won't delay the meeting gift from Master. The Master of Thousand Poison Peak said a little shamelessly. Yanxiangluo looked at the Master and apprentice in surprise. The Master of Kyandu Peak, who looked serious and indifferent outside, actually looked like this in front of his Master? Tell me, what do you like about Master that you want to ask for from this girl? Master Qin, he doesn't know his apprentice well yet. This must be because he has something that he feels is appropriate to give to his apprentice. The Master of Kyandu Peak suddenly laughed. Alchemy furnace, my alchemy furnace is too bad. Girl, please take out your alchemy furnace and show it to Master Qi. Yuan Xiangluo understood that the alchemy furnace that the master could trick her into asking for must not be an ordinary alchemy furnace, so she immediately cooperated and took out the alchemy furnace that she bought for 10 low-grade spiritual stones. Master Qin, his mouth twitched when he saw it. He was really a master and disciple. Look, they had just met and they had a tacit agreement to ask for good things from him. Master, look, this poor pill furnace girl is still able to refine elixirs of perfect quality. If she changes to a better one, what do you think the effect will be? The Master of Thousand Poison Peak said persistently. You want to give that alchemy furnace to the girl, Master Qin, he asked. Yanxiangluo's big apricot eyes flashed suddenly. The alchemy furnace her master asked for seemed extraordinary. Yes, try it. If you are lucky, give it to her. If not, I will get a better one for the girl. The Master of Kyandu Peak did not hold on to her, he just wanted to give it a try. Okay, let's leave it alone. If the girl is destined to meet someone, it will save the treasure from getting dusty. However, the alchemy furnace belongs to the Xianyun section. Master can't give it directly to the girl selfishly. Isn't the apprenticeship ceremony tomorrow? The master will bring the elixir. After passing the furnace, together with the disciples accepted by his disciples, whoever is destined will get it. Master Qin, he was not deceived by Yao disciple. As an ancestor, he cannot let his disciples feel that he is partial. Even if he is partial, he must let him. They can't fault it. The Master of Thousand Poison Peak didn't say anything more and readily agreed. After all, the alchemy furnace cannot be taken away by just anyone who wants it. It needs the approval of the alchemy furnace, otherwise it would not have been in the immortal cloud sect for so long. He asked the master to take out the treasure. Whether he can get it depends on the apprentice's ability and luck. Master Qin, he looked at Yu Xiangluo and said, whether you take the alchemy furnace or not, it doesn't count as a greeting gift. Master still has to give it as a greeting gift. This girl should be the old man's last disciple. His other disciples have already accepted disciples, and they already have disciples. Now, like him, they are practicing in seclusion and have no intention of accepting any more disciples. Yao Tu has long said that he will accept one disciple in this life, and this girl is not his last disciple. After finishing speaking, he stretched out his hand, and a golden bell appeared in his palm. Girl, this is the enchantment bell. Although it is not a weapon with strong attack power, it has strong deception power and can confuse people who are 2 levels above you. The auxiliary combat effect is still very good, just suitable for girls. It is still very useful for you when you are not strong. However, the spiritual energy consumption is still quite large, so don't use it unless it is absolutely necessary. Yan Xiangluo looked at the golden bell and felt that it matched her flying lotus. She took the bell with both hands and respectfully thanked Master Qin He for the meeting gift. This is an extra life-saving trump card at the critical moment of shutting down. I took out my own flying lotus and compared it. The more I looked at it, the more they seemed to match each other, as if they were made from the same material. Master Qin He saw a flash of surprise in her golden lotus eyes, and then said clearly, "No wonder I suddenly thought of giving you this enchantment bell. It turns out that the flying lotus is in your hand." "Master, is there any connection between them?" Yan Xiangluo asked doubtfully. Master Qin He took the flying lotus from her, took the enchanting bell, hung the enchanting bell under the flying lotus base in a few strokes, and put it in her hand. They were originally one body, called the flying lotus and the enchanting bell. Yang Xiang's eyes burst with surprise, and she said how she felt that the ecstasy bell and Felion seemed to be a good match. They were originally one and the same. She input some spiritual power into the ecstasy bell, raised her hand, and the flying lotus flew out. The ecstasy bell made a crisp sound, and the flying lotus spun around and returned to her hand. Sure enough, it's easier to use, but doesn't the ring sound remind the opponent to pay attention? Yan Xiangluo was happy but also a little puzzled. Only you can hear the ringtone only during a battle. Whoever you want to use the enchantment bell on can hear it, Grandmaster Qin He explained. Master Qin He and Yao Tu looked at each other. This girl could actually hear the sound of the ecstasy bell. How strong is her mental power? Flying lotus can be used so freely and casually, coupled with the power of the enchanting bell. The flying lotus enchanting bell is not comparable to ordinary weapons. The only flaw is that the girl's cultivation level is too low. Let's go, Master will take you back to our 1,000 Poison Peaks. The Master of 1,000 Poison Peaks was in a very good mood when he saw the happy girl. Who hasn't cultivated from the time when her cultivation level was low? With him as a master, if you look at the girl's cultivation level a year later, you can decide whether her cultivation level is low or not. Master, Xiangluo will come see you in a few days. Yan Xiangluo said goodbye to Master Qin He. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 25. Chapter 25, Arriving at 1,000 Poison Peaks. Your master usually doesn't like to be disturbed by others, the Master of 1,000 Poison Peak reminded her. Disciple, don't disturb Master. Disciple's cooking skills are still good. I will make some food to bring to Master someday as a filial piety, Yu Xiangluo said seriously. Master gave her such a lovely meeting gift. She always show your expression. At Master's age and status, she must have seen all kinds of good things and was in need of all kinds of treasures. She couldn't come up with any treasures as gifts, so she actually made some delicacies from her previous life for Master to try. It can be considered as a filial piety. This is not an exaggeration. In her previous life, she was weak and could only do things that did not require a lot of effort. Therefore, she liked to study cooking skills when she had nothing to do. Her cooking skills were decent and she was very confident. Master Qin He's eyes lit up when he heard this. I haven't eaten earthly delicacies for many years, girl, don't forget it. The leader of Qiandu Peak twitched his lips. Master, don't you even eat food made from spiritual rice and vegetables? Master Qin He ignored the looks in his disciples' eyes and waved them away. I won't forget it. Master is waiting. Yan Xiangluo waved her hand and was carried away by her master. When they arrived at Qiandu Peak, Yan Xiangluo looked at the distance between the two peaks and said somewhat depressedly, Master, how will I go to the master to deliver food to my master in the future? The master of Qiandu Peak laughed when he saw the little girl's depressed and helpless look, and said in a doting and loving tone, Master caught a white eagle to serve as a mount for Xiaoluo Er. When you break through to the king level, you can control it yourself flying empty. On the first day he met her, the master of Thousand Poison Peaks checked her identity and was very clear about what she had experienced and what she had done. I feel very sorry for the little girl's experience. I thought he really accepted disciples as he pleased. Not only him, every peak master of Xuanhuan sect, including the sect leader, seems to be very casual about accepting disciples. In fact, it has been checked long ago. The direct disciples of the peak master are related to the reputation and future of Xuanhuan sect in the future, and there can be no sloppiness. So from the day he planned to accept a disciple, he decided to treat the little apprentice better, but not as cruelly as the master treated his brothers. The little girl was already pitiful enough and could not be treated cruelly again. Besides, girls just need to be pampered. Thank you, master. Xianxia didn't know what her master was thinking, so she let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she didn't have to climb mountains and ridges. If she had to walk on her own feet, the food would be cold and the taste would be very different. It's good to have a master, I feel good. Master was the only one in Qiandu Peak before, but now Xiaoluo has gained popularity. Of the rooms in the main hall, Master lives in the one on the left. The rest of Xiaoluo can choose as they please. Just treat this place as your home. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't slack off in learning and practicing. Yes, I understand Xianxia liked Qiandu Peak very much, which was a result she had never thought of before coming to Xuanhuan sect. Tomorrow's apprenticeship meeting will be attended by all the disciples in the inner courtyard. Try your best to try the alchemy furnace Xiaoluo your master brought. It would be the best if the alchemy furnace can recognize its owner. There is nothing better than it in this world. The alchemy furnace is ready. The master of Qiandu Peak looked at his little apprentice with emotion. He didn't know if the little girl was destined for the alchemy furnace. Master, is there anything special about the alchemy furnace? Xianxia asked doubtfully. The alchemy furnace that can make the master take it so seriously must be extraordinary. The alchemy furnace was dug out when the Xuanhuan sect was building the Xuanhuan Peak Hall when it was first founded. It looks very ordinary, and it is the kind that ordinary people would despise if it is thrown outside as an incense burner. However, it is extremely strong, and people with sect-level cultivation there was nothing they could do. An ancestor wanted to use it to make pills, but he avoided it, only to find out that it was a spiritual treasure. Since then, every sect leader and his direct disciples have tried to contract the pill furnace, but they have not yet found one. People have succeeded, and our brothers and sisters have also tried it, the master of Qiandu Peak patiently explained to his young apprentice. Ruanxiang realized clearly that it was indeed a treasure. Such a treasure would not easily recognize its owner. She had no confidence in herself. Thinking of Miao Changjai, the reborn son of local destiny, wouldn't this alchemy furnace be his chance? Sighing secretly in my heart, I hope Master will not be too disappointed when the time comes. By the way, Xiaoluo you have 5 spiritual roots, right, Master? Take a look at the condition of your spiritual roots and see if you can get rid of the spiritual roots with poor qualifications. In this way, your cultivation speed will be greatly improved. Since he got to know his little apprentice, he naturally knew that Xianxia was the 5 spiritual roots and the nascent soul was just condensed, so the little apprentice's cultivation level was so low. Master, my 5 spiritual roots have been condensed into 1 root. Xianxia's heart warmed and she said it truthfully. Even if she didn't say it, the master would know it as soon as he looked at it. It's condensed into 1. How did you do that? The master of Thousand Poison Peak looked at his young apprentice in surprise. The information he got should not be wrong. The gift I received after being put to death was that after I died in the Tianshun royal secret realm, when I woke up, I reshaped my veins and condensed the nascent soul, and the 5 spiritual roots merged into 1. Xianxia chose to believe in her master. But she didn't tell the whole truth. For example, she chose to hide the skills she practiced. He naturally knew about his young apprentice's experience in Tianxia, but he didn't expect that she would have such an opportunity. After you become a disciple in the main hall, Master will take you to the Master to retest your spiritual roots. The Master of Qiandu was still worried and had to check it himself before he felt relieved. Yan Xianglego nodded. The Master was doing it for her own good. Besides, she also wanted to know what the current status of her spiritual roots was. The spiritual roots are condensed into one. Xiao Luo Er, this is a blessing in disguise after all the hardships. But don't be proud. Although talent is important during the journey of cultivation, hard work and perseverance are more important, the Master of Qiandu said seriously. Yan Xianglego nodded. Master, don't worry, my disciple will always remember the Master's teachings. At any time and at any height, he will maintain his true intention. The Master of Qiandu nodded with satisfaction, called up the servant disciples, introduced Yan Xianglego to them, and told them that from now on Qiandu Yan Xianglego would have the final say. There are 10 servant disciples in total, who are mainly responsible for serving the medicine fields. They were all surprised. Although the Peak Master's disciples had great authority, Yuan Xianglego was the first to have such authority. They all bowed respectfully to Yu Xianglego and said, Disciple, I have met Master Yu. Hearing their titles, Yan Xianglego's mouth twitched, and then she realized that she had borrowed the guidance of her master, and her seniority was not low, and she was the same generation as the sect master. Seeing the look on his little apprentice's face, the Master of Qiandu was in a very good mood. He asked her to choose a room and told her to let the handyman disciples do any work. He Yukong left. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 26. Chapter 26, White Eagle Mount. The handyman disciple immediately stepped forward to please him and said, Uncle Master has chosen that room. Let's clean up the room for Uncle Master. Yan Xianglego waved her hands and said, I can clean up the room myself. You go and do your work. I will call you if anything happens. Yan Xianglego walked into the main hall. It was a spacious living room. There were corridors around the main hall. The master said that his room was on the left, so she walked to the right. There were many rooms, but because no one was empty, she chose a direction. The good room was cleaned briefly, and when he was about to take out his bedding, he heard the voice of the handyman disciple. Uncle Master, the General Affairs Office has sent a copy of the regulations to Uncle Master. Yan Xianglego opened the door and saw an inner disciple standing aside. When he saw her coming out, he handed her a gift ring after greeting her. Uncle Yu, this is the direct disciple of the Peak Master. A gift ring of 20 square meters contains 2 sets of bedding and 4 sets of religious uniforms. This month's cultivation resources are 10 high-grade spiritual stones and 50 kilograms of spiritual rice. 50 kilograms of spiritual vegetables. From now on, Master Shisha can go to the General Service Hall to collect the monthly cultivation resources and spiritual rice, spiritual vegetables at the beginning of the month. The color of the robes will be aqua blue this year. From now on, Master Shisha can do it himself. Choose the color you like, and next year's Zongfu Hall will be made according to the color that Uncle Master likes. Yan Xianglego took the ring and checked it with her consciousness. Sure enough, it was what he said. She nodded and said, Thank you. It should be, the inner disciple said quickly. Uncle Yu, if there is nothing else to do, Zhongjing will retire. The inner disciple told Yu Xianglego his name calmly, hoping to win some favor. 1000 Poison Peak, the most indispensable, its poison. After Yan Xianglego nodded, Zhongjing went down the mountain. Yan Xianglego looked at the direction he was walking and knew that it was a path up the mountain. It seemed that not everyone had a mount. Even the inner disciples had to climb up when delivering things to the 7 peaks. Going back to the room, he took out the bedding distributed by the General Affairs Hall and laid out one set, put the other set in the cabinet, and took out the royal uniform and put it on. The sect uniform is aqua blue, with golden patterns embroidered on the collar, cuffs, and belt, and a flowing white outer shirt with the Xuanhuan sect totem embroidered on it. Thinking of the words of the inner sect disciples, she understood that her seniority was with the sect master and the others. Therefore, the sect uniforms are the same as the sect masters. They can wear snow-white coats, and the color of the skirts can be chosen by oneself. They do not need to wear a uniform aqua blue, but the pattern is the same, and it is golden like the sect masters. She could clearly see the clothes worn by the inner disciple who had just sent her a sample. They were only smoky blue sect uniforms, and the outer shirt was light gray with the totem of the immortal cloud sect embroidered on it. She also roughly understood the hierarchy of clothing in the Xuanhuan sect. Outer sect disciples can only wear aqua blue and smoky blue robes, while inner sect ordinary disciples can also wear a light gray outer robe. The robes of the direct disciples of the Peak Master are embroidered with silver patterns, and they can wear outer robes of the same color. At the top is the sect leader and Peak Master level. You can choose the color of your clothes at will. The pattern is gold and the outer shirt is white. Xianxia felt as if she had reached the sky in one step. One moment she was worried about becoming a handyman disciple, and the next moment she became the disciple of the master uncle of Xuanhuan sect, and she was still the only disciple. Looking at my pitiful strength, I sighed and decided to keep a low profile in the future and practice my skills with peace of mind. I must make sure that my strength and identity match it. Suddenly she remembered the man who passed by in the sky that day. He was wearing a smoky blue robe with silver patterns embroidered on it, and an outer shirt of the same color, indicating that he was the direct disciple of the Peak Master. In this case, he should be able to do it tomorrow. When I saw him, I happened to return the jade pendant to him. At this time, Grand Master Qin looked at the extremely joyful ashes fluttering in the alchemy furnace in his hand, and looked towards the direction of Qiandu Peak. Is that girl your destined one? You who never made any move unexpectedly came to that girl after that. I was jumping so happily. Okay, stop jumping, you can leave with your master tomorrow, Master Qin said with emotion. The alchemy furnace has been passed down from generation to generation in their Xuanhuan sect, but no one has ever been able to successfully identify its owner. So what is it about this girl that makes the alchemy furnace so eager to recognize its owner? Yu Xianglou tidied up her room and put on her sect uniform. She was already a disciple of the Xuanhuan sect, and she was still a disciple with such a high seniority. She had to pay attention to her words and deeds in the future and not to embarrass her master. After she finished cleaning up, she saw her master coming back, followed by a large snow-white eagle. Yan Xianglou greeted him happily. Master, is this amount for me? It felt good to be greeted by someone as soon as I came back. The master of Qiandu Peak thought it was really good to have a little apprentice. Look, the cold Qiandu the peaks are warm. Well, there is no need for a contract. The master has already made an agreement with it. It will be your mount until you reach the king level. The master has already given it benefits. Thank you, Master. Yang Xiang fell behind and touched the smooth feathers of the big eagle. The big eagle wanted to hide, but held back. Master, I'm going to see my friend. Yan Xianglou climbed onto the back of the big eagle, wanting to see Jin Xinrong and trying out what it felt like to fly on the back of the big eagle. Go. The master of Qiandu Peak understood that he was still a child after all. The big eagle took off with Yan Xianglou smoothly and headed down the mountain. Soon they arrived at the bottom of the mountain. Yan Xianglou patted the big eagle and said, "Go and play. Come and pick me up when I come here again later. Go back." The big eagle neighed and flew away. Yan Xianglou turned around and saw that the inner sect was very big. I wonder where the disciples of the inner sect lived. She asked a passing inner sect disciple for directions. As soon as the disciple saw what she was wearing, she immediately saluted and said, "I've met my uncle. Alas, as I get older, I feel a sense of distance from others." "Where does the new female disciple live?" Xianxia asked. "Let me lead the way for Uncle Master," the disciple said respectfully. "I'm tired," Xianxia said. It should be the disciples were flattered. The peak master's disciples were either arrogant or cold and unattainable, but a disciple at the master level was actually so kind. The disciples took her to the place where the female disciple lived. Because he was a male disciple, he didn't go in, but he was called in to manage the ordinary disciples of the inner sect. Everyone was very polite. Xianxia originally thought that it would take some effort to find someone, but she met Jinxinrong so smoothly. The inner disciples shared a room with 4 people, which was much more comfortable than the 6 outer disciples who shared a room. Jinxinrong lived in a room with 3 other female disciples. When he saw her coming, he ran out happily. "Xianluo, that's great. I was worried about you. Now it's great. You have become the direct disciple of the master of Candupik, and you are still the only disciple. No one dares to bully you this time. The rules are, you have to call me uncle." The person who manages the ordinary disciples of the inner sect immediately said to Jinxinrong. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 27. Chapter 27 Good Cooking Skills. Jinxinrong stuck out her tongue, glanced at Xianxia and said, "It's over, we are a generation behind. Originally, I wanted to be good sisters, but now it's better. Xianxia has been directly upgraded to become a master uncle. We still have to abide by the rules, we can discuss it in private." Xianxia took her hand and walked out, and said to the inner disciple in charge, "Let's go out and have a few words." Xianxia's seniority is there, how dare the disciples not respond and get out of the way? When the 2 of them arrived outside, Jinxinrong immediately asked, "Xianluo, is the master of Candupik looking so cold, will it be difficult to get along with him?" "No, master is very kind to me. In order to make it easier for me to go down the mountain, he caught a white eagle for me to use as a mount," Xianxia said with a smile. "Fortunately, you are so lucky, but you have to be careful in Candupik. I heard them say that Candupik is full of poisonous weeds, and many handyman disciples died there." Jinxinrong was a little envious of Yuxiang. "It fell, but I didn't forget to remind you," Xianluo in a low voice. "Don't worry, I'll be careful." "How are you doing, are you still used to it?" Xianxia mainly asked this question. As for the servants who were waiting for the poisonous weeds to be poisoned, they were probably all people who didn't understand poisonous weeds. She just took a quick look and saw that poisonous weeds and detoxifying herbs were planted next to each other. Anyone who knew better would not be poisoned to death. "I am just a night pearl, it will shine wherever I put it." Jinxinrong patted her heart and said with a smile. Haha. Xianxia was amused by her optimistic mood, and was a little curious about what kind of family Jinxinrong grew up in. "Then you shine brightly. We may not have that much time to see each other in the future, but I will come to see you every month when I come to collect samples. If you have time, go to Candupik to find me," Xianxia thought. Next, she might not have enough time to come down the mountain often. "I understand, whoever has time can go see each other. The most important thing is that we all work hard to practice." Jinxinrong nodded. The 2 of them talked for a while and then separated. After all, there were a lot of things to get familiar with on the first day. Jinxinrong looked at the back of Xianxia as she left. Although both of them were wearing aqua blue dresses, Xianxia's dress was embroidered with golden patterns, and her coat was snow white. Only the sect master and the peak master could wear color. Looking down at the gray coat on his body, he understood that he had to practice harder. If he wanted to be friends with Xianxia forever, even if he couldn't stand on the same level as her, he couldn't be too far behind. She has not forgotten that it was Yan Xianglou who gave her 3 longan grasses to allow her to stay in the Xuanhuan section. She will remember this friendship for the rest of her life. With the white eagle swooping down from the sky and landing right in front of her. Back at Thousand Poison Peaks, Yu Xianglou thought it was already noon, so she decided to make lunch for her master. She saw that the rice and vegetables in the meal were all spiritual rice and vegetables, which should have been grown by the Xuanhuan sect themselves. This kind of food is purer than the rice and vegetables eaten by ordinary people, and the spiritual energy in it is also helpful for cultivation. No wonder everyone wants to join a big section. Even the handyman disciples can eat spiritual rice. No, what she said is a bit mysterious. The handyman disciples only have a small amount of spiritual rice and no spiritual vegetables. Even the outer disciples only have more spiritual rice than the handyman disciples, while the inner disciples have more spiritual rice. Some of them don't have spiritual vegetables. Spiritual vegetables are only available to the peak master's direct disciples. Yuan Xianglou enjoys the same treatment as the peak master and others. Even if it is less, you can still drink porridge for a month, and you can receive the next month's spiritual rice. At this moment, she also understood that ordinary people eat to survive, while people in the Xuanhuan sect eat to cultivate. She searched around but couldn't find the kitchen. Does the master usually not eat? She looked at the place where the handyman disciples lived. They should have a kitchen, but forget it, she couldn't use other people's kitchens. She took out the kitchen utensils she brought, found 2 stones to build a stove outside the main hall, and grabbed 2 handfuls. Me used the water condensed by her water power to cook the rice, and used her fire power to light the fire. While controlling the fire, she took out the dishes and prepared them. She was going to fry 2 vegetarian dishes. There is no other way. We only have vegetarian dishes, and we have to find a way to get some spiritual animal meat. Otherwise, we can't just cook vegetarian dishes for our master. After a while, the meal was ready. Yan Xianglou put the rice and vegetables on the tray and knocked on the door of the Qiandu Peak Master. Come in. Yan Xianglou opened the door and walked in. Master, I made lunch, please eat some. At his level of cultivation, it doesn't matter whether he eats or not, even the little spiritual energy from Lingmai has no effect. But he couldn't live up to his young apprentice's filial piety. He nodded, got up, came to the table and sat down on the futon. Yan Xianglou put the food on the table and said, there are only vegetarian dishes. Master, taste them first. In a few days, I will get some spirit animal meat and then cook meat dishes for master. It tastes very fragrant. The master of Thousand Poison Peak raised his eyebrows. He hadn't eaten for many years, but he actually felt a little hungry today. Picked up the chopsticks, picked up a piece of food and put it in his mouth. His taste buds were immediately satisfied. Xiaoluo's cooking skills are pretty good. Really, master, does master like it? Yan Xianglou asked with a smile. The master of Thousand Poison Peaks joked, are you asking master to taste food for your grandfather? I am honoring the master first. Yu Xianglou refused to admit it and asked the master to try the dishes. I can like it, but your master used to like meat. The master of Thousand Poison Peak reminded me. I'm also thinking about going down the mountain to sell the meat of spiritual beasts, Yu Xianglou said. The master of Thousand Poison Peaks raised his eyes and looked at her and said, on the other side of Thousand Poison Peaks is the Xuanhuan mountain range. If you buy any spiritual beast meat, you can hunt one and bring it back. It will be enough for several days. Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up. Yes, you can also practice yourself this way. The master of Qiandu Peak saw his young apprentice's sparkling eyes, which were full of smiles. He was really a diligent child, and this could all be connected with his cultivation. After lunch, the master of Thousand Poison Peak took her to the library. The books here are all prepared by master for you. These are books for studying medicine and alchemy, and here are books for cultivation. You first read it yourself, and if you don't understand, ask the master. There are also some travel notes and miscellaneous books. It will be helpful for you to learn more about the mainland in the future. Yan Xiangluo's eyes were wide open. She only had the memory of the original owner and the experience of reading fantasy books in her previous life. To understand the rules of cultivation and survival in this fantasy world, she really needed some travel notes and miscellaneous books. Seeing how excited she was, the master of Qiandu Peak left the library and let her choose to read on her own. Yan Xiangluo walked over and read the alchemy book carefully, which was divided into two parts, medicinal herbs and poisonous herbs. She also opened the book on cultivation, wanting to understand the rules of cultivation. This doesn't matter, I really see the problem. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 28. Chapter 28. There is no lotus platform. Yan Xiangluo thought that after condensing the nascent soul, she could officially embark on the path of cultivation. However, she realized that she was missing something very important, the lotus platform. When the Yuanying is condensed, a lotus platform will be formed at the same time. The level of the lotus platform also determines the speed of Yuanying's cultivation. Looking at the lotus platform sitting under the little figure in the book, and then looking at the little Jinwei in her danchan with nothing under her butt, Yu Xiangluo's heart sank. No way, the original owner paid the price with his life, but it is still an incomplete cultivation method. She immediately got up and looked through the books on cultivation. After reading all afternoon, she could not find anything about the situation that the nascent soul did not have a lotus platform. What to do? She stood up, opened the door of the study hall, and walked to her master's room, but the master was not there. She returned to the study hall in a dull mood, not even in the mood to do anything else. It was getting dark outside, so she went out to make dinner. The master was not here, so she simply made what she ate. After finishing the meal, she returned to the room and sat cross-legged to start practicing. No matter what happened to the lotus platform, shouldn't she delay her cultivation now? Then she should continue practicing and wait until the master comes back to ask the master what happened. Now she also has a master. At this time, all the 7 peak masters were present in the sect master's Xuanhuan peak. The master of 1000 Poison Peak said that the strength of the newly recruited children was too weak and they should be tempered, including the original disciples who were dedicated to alchemy and had too much cultivation. Without pressure there would be no motivation. If you put some pressure, maybe there will be surprises. Therefore, we discussed an experience plan. Of course, new disciples and old disciples are not in the same way, and their strength is not at the same level, so naturally they cannot experience it at the same time. In order to ensure the safety of the disciples, sect elders accompanied them to protect them secretly. The disciples of Xuanhuan sect don't know yet that after the sect's apprenticeship ceremony ends tomorrow, they will face a cruel road of training. When the master of 1000 Poison Peak came back, he felt the spiritual energy surging in his little apprentice's room and knew that she was practicing, so he nodded with satisfaction. Early the next morning, Yan Xiangluo made breakfast early. After breakfast with her master, she went to attend the apprenticeship ceremony. This time she refused to be carried by her master and flew away. It was too embarrassing. She followed her master down the mountain on a white eagle and flew directly to the main hall where the ceremony was held and where the final assessment was held. When the master and disciple arrived at the main hall in front, everyone was already there and standing on the stage outside the main hall door. Yu Xiangluo saw many people wearing the clothes of direct disciples standing behind the peak masters. Ordinary inner disciples, both new and old, were standing in the square below the stage, which was also the place where they took the assessment yesterday. Everyone looked up at her, mainly because the white eagle she was riding on was too conspicuous. Miao Changji felt depressed again when he saw that Yan Xianglou had become a disciple yesterday and had a mount today. From the first time he saw her, she was out of his control. The sect leader saw his uncle and his junior sister coming, and announced the beginning of the apprenticeship ceremony. The new disciples who became the disciples of each peak master yesterday have all changed into the sect uniforms of each level. Yan Xianglou stood calmly at the front of the group, the first position. There is no way, I am not strong enough and my seniority is high. The ceremony is very simple. Bow down to your mentor and ancestors, and the ceremony is complete. Disciples like them will be included in the Jade Butterfly of Xuanhuan section. He will also enjoy the admiration and worship of future generations of disciples. Jin Xinrong stood below, watching Yan Xianglou's apprenticeship. She was very excited. The person next to her glanced at her and muttered, "Why are you excited? It's not your apprenticeship. From now on, you are not worthy of carrying people's shoes." Jin Xinrong. She ignored the other party. The envious person's face was too ugly. She believed that she would not misjudge the person. Friends are not a one-sided contribution from one party. Friendship must be committed in both directions to be long-term. The road of spiritual practice is long and lonely. She feels that she is very lucky to have a close friend walking with her. After the ceremony was completed, the sect leader announced that 1 month later, all Xuanhuan sect disciples, whether new or old, would go out to practice for 1 month. The purpose was to improve their cultivation. It was not just about refining elixirs, but cultivation strength was more important. Every year from now on, the sect will hold a cultivation competition, and those who advance more in cultivation will also be rewarded. Everyone is wilted, how come refining elixirs is more important than cultivation? They knew that all the major sects were preparing for the opening of the Lingquan secret realm 3 years later. Lingquan secret realm exists because of Lingquan. Lingquan is a magical existence that appears once every 100 years and has been for thousands of years. Lingquan is in the secret realm, so it was named Lingquan secret realm. Hence, the opening of the secret realm of spiritual spring also means that the spiritual spring is about to appear. The place where Lingquan appears every time is not certain, so all the imperial sects and forces in Tianqian continent agree that Lingquan, no matter which country it is in, is jointly owned by the entire continent. Everyone can enter the secret realm of Lingquan to experience and try their luck. Although Lingquan is called a spring, it is just an honorific title. In fact, Lingquan is only as big as a bowl. The water drips down drop by drop from the rocks above. A bowl of water can drip in 100 years. But strangely, there was a grass living in the puddle as big as the mouth of a bowl. It only had 9 leaves and never had more than 1, so it was named 9-leaf grass. It is said that the 9-leaf clover has the effect of curing all kinds of diseases. As long as a person has a breath left, taking a piece of the 9-leaf clover can bring him back to life. If a person's cultivation is completely destroyed, as long as a leaf in the danshan is still there, he can immediately recover. 80%. Every time Lingquan appears on the Tianqian continent, a strong man will appear. Most people have no chance to see Lingquan, let alone get the 9-leaf clover. What they are interested in is the secret realm of Lingquan. Although it is only for a month, this month is better than spending more than 10 years or even dozens of years outside. After years of training, there will naturally be many strong people who have experienced the survival of the fittest in the secret realm. Another 100 years have passed, and now it is time for the spiritual spring to appear again. It is still unknown what kind of storms will be stirred up in the mainland, but the number of people entering the secret realm can be imagined, and the strong ones will inevitably be shuffled. The major sects naturally attach great importance to the opening of the secret realm of spiritual spring. Some strong men who are on the verge of the end of their lives also want to try their luck by winning the 9-leaf clover and spiritual spring water. While extending their lifespan, they hope to have the opportunity to break through the sect level and reach the level of the spiritual spring. emperor level, qualified to go to higher continents. At the same time, he also gained a longer lifespan. Just when all the disciples were in different moods, an elder with white hair and white beard appeared from the sky. The sect leader and the peak masters all hurriedly stood up and kowtowed to the master. The sect leader was called master, and the disciples below immediately knew who the person was and quickly knelt down. Kowtow to the great master. Xianxia also knelt down, and only the master of Qiandu Peak stood to salute. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 29. Chapter 29 Dan Furnace Stone Nest. Masterkin he raised his hand, and a strong force lifted everyone up. Everyone, get up. After getting up, the sect leader quickly invited Masterkin he to the middle position and asked, Master, what do you mean when you come down the mountain this time? Masterkin he looked at the disciples and sighed in his heart, it is time for the disciples of Xuanhuan sect to improve their cultivation strength. He stretched out his hand, and an inconspicuous alchemy furnace appeared in his palm. As soon as he threw it, the alchemy furnace floated in front of the disciples below. This alchemy furnace was dug out from under the Xuanhuan peak when the Xuanhuan sect was founded. Although it looks inconspicuous, it is a spiritual treasure. The direct disciples of all generations have had the opportunity to try to contract the alchemy furnace, but there was no people have succeeded. The alchemy furnace that has always been quiet today has been beating. It should be that its destined person has appeared, so I will let all the disciples try it. Ordinary disciples can also try it. As soon as Masterkin he finished speaking, everyone who knew about the matter was shocked. Is this alchemy furnace actually going to claim its owner? The sect master and the peak masters were not in a good mood. After all, they had tried to contract the alchemy furnace but failed, which meant that the owner of the alchemy furnace was not them. So who is it? At this time, the disciples below were all excited. Some people had already tried to touch the alchemy furnace, but they were repelled by a force before they even touched it. There can only be one person who is destined to be the one, let's try in order, the sect master immediately shouted. There was no use squeezing, but he glanced at his direct disciples, hoping that this destined person would appear among his disciples. Xianxia watched the alchemy furnace being taken out by her master, and her mood was a little complicated. If she couldn't get the alchemy furnace, her master would be very disappointed. She looked at Miao Qianzhi, and sure enough, his eyes were filled with hopeless light. Indeed, Miao Nagano was extremely excited at this time. In his last life, he had only heard about this alchemy furnace, but he was not qualified to see it, and he had never heard of anyone successfully recognizing its owner. Since he was reborn in this life, does the fact that the alchemy furnace appears in this way mean that he is the destined person? He was so excited that he resisted the urge to rush over immediately. The inner disciples below have all tried it, but without exception they cannot get close to the alchemy furnace. The sect leader then said to the direct disciples of each peak, you should also go over and give it a try. Xianxia did not move, but the other disciples of the 6 peaks all walked down the steps in order to try to see if they could contract the alchemy furnace. The master of Thousand Poison Peak looked down at his young apprentice and said, why don't you go over and give it a try? I am my uncle, let them go first. Xianxia looked like I was an elder. In fact, I feel in my heart that the alchemy furnace may belong to the son of luck, Miao Nagano. If he has made a contract, she will not need to go there. At this time, her eyes fell on the few people walking in front of Miao Nagano, one of whom was the man who dropped the jade pendant that day. It turns out that he is the direct disciple of the sect master. Looking at his position, he is right in front of Miao Nagano. He should be the 6th disciple of the sect master. I thought to myself, find an opportunity to return the jade pendant to him. The direct disciples tried one by one, but still no one could touch the alchemy furnace. Xianxia was very excited when he reached out, but when an obstacle appeared, his heart sank. He couldn't do it, so who is the alchemy furnace owner? I tried several times without giving up, but it didn't work, so I had to leave. All the direct disciples have tried, but no one has succeeded. The sect leader sighed and said, Master, is it possible that the destined person is not in the inner sect? Master Qin he stroked his beard and said, isn't there one person who hasn't tried yet? Is there anyone who hasn't tried it yet? Everyone ignored Yanxiangluo. There are so many people with higher alchemy levels than her and higher cultivation than her, but they have not been recognized by the alchemy furnace, and it is even more impossible for her. Girl, why don't you try it, Master Qin he asked. The implication is, I have brought the alchemy furnace, you go and try it quickly. Come back to Master, I am Master Uncle, let the other Master nephews come first, let's go over and give it a try, Ruanxiangluo said politely. Go Master Qin he nodded. The little girl was quite scheming. Even if she took the alchemy furnace in the end, others wouldn't be able to say anything. After all, they all tried and couldn't take it away. Did he know that Yanxiangluo was surprised that Xianxia couldn't take away the alchemy furnace? If he couldn't take it away, wouldn't it be a slap in the face of what the master just said, and he felt a little uneasy. Everyone watched as the girl in the flying blue skirt came down the steps. Her delicate face seemed to have been specially gifted by God. It was perfect and impeccable. Her watery eyes and long eyelashes flickered, smart and smart. What they saw was Yanxiangluo's calmness, but they could not see the anxiety in her heart. Step by step, Yanxiangluo walked down the steps and came to the suspended alchemy furnace. He stood 3 steps away. Everyone was excluded from this distance before. She didn't feel confident, so she slowly stretched out her hand and walked forward slowly. At the same time, the quietly suspended alchemy furnace suddenly started to tremble. Master Qin he saw clearly the state of the alchemy furnace. Sure enough, this girl was destined for the alchemy furnace. She wanted to get Ruanxiangluo to refine the elixir 3 times and twice to make the elixir, once with top quality and once with perfect quality. She also understood that the alchemy furnace chose her. Reason. Spiritual treasures paired with evil geniuses are just right. 2 steps, 1 step, her hand instantly touched the alchemy furnace, and the trembling alchemy furnace jumped happily into her hand. Yanxiangluo was stunned. She was the destined person for the alchemy furnace. Could it be that what Master said was true and that there was really something strange about the alchemy furnace? Girl, shed your blood and recognize the Master. Grandmaster Qin he also sounded a little excited. Although none of them were recognized by the alchemy furnace, it would be a worthwhile life if they could see the true appearance of the alchemy furnace with their own eyes. There are not many treasures like this in the world. At least he will live to be 100 years old. This is the only treasure that you can choose your own owner. Yanxiangluo came back to her senses and thought that when the original owner contracted Felian, she bit her finger. The contract was made with blood. She also bit her left index finger. A drop of blood fell on the alchemy furnace. After the blood dropped on it, the alchemy furnace emitted a with dazzling light. The alchemy furnace immediately levitated, and its mottled appearance faded away layer by layer, revealing the smooth jasper-like body inside. Although it still looks like a simple alchemy furnace, the walls of the alchemy furnace are carved with complex patterns, and there are 2 stone nests in the center. Is this the name of an alchemy furnace? Aren't the top quality alchemy furnaces in fantasy books all have very noble names? Why is this so down to earth? Isn't it an alchemy furnace? Master Qin he appeared in front of her instantly, and other peak masters, including the sect leader, also came to her and surrounded her. Miao Nagano's dark eyes stared at Yanxiangluo, who was surrounded by everyone. In the last life, there was no such person as her, and the master of Qiandu Peak never had any disciples. How has everything changed in this life? Is she here to defeat him? End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 30. Chapter 30 Returning the Jade Pendant. Everyone gathered around Xianxia to watch, but the stone nest turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the center of Xianxia's eyebrows. A voice came from the consciousness, "It depends on what I do, I hate it." Does this mean you don't want to be watched? Xianxia was speechless. She looked at the people surrounding her and shrugged, "It doesn't want to be watched." Master Qin he smiled and said, "Do you know what kind of alchemy furnace it is?" "The Danlu has the word Shiwo on it," Xianxia said matter-of-factly. Unless he didn't use the Danlu in front of others in the future, he couldn't hide it, so it was better to tell them generously. Shiwo, several people were searching for the name of the famous alchemy furnace in their minds, but they couldn't remember that there was such an alchemy furnace. In the end, they all looked at Master Qin he. Master Qin he shook his head and said, "There are many things we don't know about the 3,000 worlds and the 9 heavens." Then he said to Ruanxiangluo, "Girl, I hope you can keep your heart and stick to your original intention, so that you can go further in refining alchemy. Disciple, please remember your master's teachings." Yuanxiangluo saluted. Master Qin he smiled and stood up in the air to leave. The sect master and everyone immediately knelt down and said, "Send master off." Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that there would be such an episode in the apprenticeship ceremony. The most important thing was that Danlu actually recognized the person they least expected as his master. The ceremony was over, and the other inner disciples left. The direct disciples followed the peak masters into the hall, and they wanted to get to know each other. Miao Changjai didn't know how to feel when facing Yanxiangluo now. After meeting several senior brothers and sisters in Yanxiangluo, her nephews also came to visit her. Others were fine, but Miao Changjai felt indescribably depressed. From this, Yanxiangluo knew that the man who dropped the jade pendant was called Baitang Yunyu, and he was the prince of Hankai Kingdom. From this, Yanxiangluo knew that the piece of jade was probably the status symbol of Baitang Yunyu, so she thought about finding an opportunity to return it to him later. After getting to know each other, the sect master asked them to go out first. They still had to discuss the matter of training. It was not easy to ensure the safety of the disciples and to let them get training. After leaving the main hall, Yanxiangluo looked for Baitang Yunyu, and saw Miao Changjai talking to Baitang Yunyu. Yanxiangluo didn't want to meet Miao Changjai, so she hid to one side. After Miao Changjai finished speaking, he walked towards her. "Come this way." Yanxiangluo heard his voice, "Huh, Baitang Yunyu, your jade pendant was not found in the last life, and then you fooled it with a fake one for several years. By the time you found it, you no longer needed Hanqi Kingdom's jade pendant. I support it. Now Hankai Kingdom comes to give you cultivation resources, but it depends on the identity jade pendant. I already know that you lost the identity jade pendant. Will you have so many cultivation resources in the future? From now on, you will wait. Fall down from the altar of cultivation genius." Yanxiangluo was shocked. Miao Changjai had such a dark mind. Can such a person be reborn as a son of destiny? After Miao Nagano walked over, she quickly caught up with Baitang Yunyu and said, "Master Baitang's nephew." Baitang Yunyu was in a bad mood. Even after being stopped by Yanxiangluo, he was still polite. He was indeed from the royal family, and there was no need to mention this etiquette. "Uncle Master, what's the matter?" "That's it. The day before yesterday, I saw you flying through the outer gate and dropped a jade pendant. I happened to catch it. I never had the chance to see you. I just happened to give it back to you when I saw you today." He took out the jade pendant and handed it to Baitang Yunyu. Baitang Yun's jade eyes burst out with surprise. He was worried about losing the jade pendant, but he didn't expect that his uncle would bring it to him. He was his lucky star. He took the jade pendant with both hands, and it turned out to be his jade pendant. "Thank you, uncle." "It's okay, it's just a coincidence." Yan Xianglou said nothing, turned around and walked out. The master asked her to go back first, so she didn't have to wait here. As soon as she left the main hall, she saw Jin Xinrong stretching her neck and looking, obviously waiting for her. "Xinrong!" Yan Xianglou shouted. Jin Xinrong immediately ran over and said, "Xianglou, let's go through the training together in 1 month." "Aren't you going to form a team?" Yan Xianglou asked. "I'm worried about you alone, so I thought you'd form a team with us so I could take care of you." "I don't know how to decide it yet, let's talk about it when the time comes." Yan Xianglou didn't agree, and she didn't know what the situation would be like then. "Well, if you don't form a team then, you can come to our team. I've already made an agreement with them," Jin Xinrong said. "Okay," Yan Xianglou agreed. It was indeed dangerous to practice alone. "It's safer to have more people," Jin Xinrong said. "Xinrong, don't trust others easily. The only person you can rely on most is yourself," Yan Xianglou said firmly. In her last life, she was weak and the only relative who was good to her was her grandma. She also thought that her grandma was her support. However, after her grandma passed away, her backer collapsed. If it weren't for her own talent in medicine, her family would still have provided her with such expensive medicinal materials to sustain life. From then on, she understood that no matter when, the only person you can rely on is yourself. This fantasy world is even more so. "I understand, it won't be like last time." Jin Xinrong thought that Yan Xianglou was reminding her of what happened last time. After the two separated, Yan Xianglou left on the White Eagle and did not return to Thousand Poison Peaks. He thought about making food for his master and hunting spiritual beasts. The White Eagle took her to the mountains below Thousand Poison Peaks and flew away. Yan Xianglou walked towards the mountains. With her current cultivation level, she could only hunt spiritual rabbits, fire roosters, and the like. Therefore, she did not dare to go deep into the mountains. If she encountered powerful monsters, she just to give people extra meals. She was quite lucky. After walking for a while, she encountered 2 fire chickens and caught them without much effort. She was not greedy, so she walked back. She encountered a few common herbs on the way, which she did not dislike and picked them. Came back. After whistling, Bai Diao found her accurately and took her back to Thousand Poison Peak. Back at Qiandu Peak, she saw several people busy at the simple stove she built. Was this a kitchen? Without asking, she knew it was the master's order, and Yan Xianglou felt warm in her heart. It seemed that the kitchen would be built soon. It was not yet noon, so she was not in a hurry to cook and went to the medicine field to take a look. At this time, the handyman disciples were working in the medicine field. When they saw Ruan Xianglou coming over, they thought that she should not come into the medicine field. Although she was senior, they also knew that she was the highest level of cultivation and alchemy among these disciples. At the lowest level, even their handyman disciples could refine first-grade elixirs. They didn't know what Qiandu Peak's master saw in her. Their envy and jealousy made them choose to ignore Yu Xianglou, although she could only refine first-grade elixirs. Pills, but of perfect quality. Yang Xiang did not go into the medicinal field, but only walked around the medicinal field. There were 10 medicinal fields in total, and 5 or 6 kinds of poisonous weeds were planted in each field. At this moment, a handyman disciple exclaimed, "I've been poisoned." End of this chapter.